One of the biggest indicators of the future health of generations is what you own, the property you own. So how do we create ownership in a world where the gap between rich and poor is getting bigger?
Anyone looking at the market that has any sort of empathy start to see that there's a huge problem with housing.
I care a lot about people, so I think building shelter, it just seems so basic and obvious.
There's a culture that wants to succeed, but there's also the underlying pieces to actually allow it. We now control the entire chain from money to building, and we can align all of those things to actually change the construction industry.
We have to figure out how to have systems that give back as much as they take, that take as little as we need. In housing, part of that is tracking a larger picture, like what are the materials we're putting into the house? How do they get to the site? What is the carbon footprint?
With the system that we work in, you can't do that without lowering the cost of construction. That is effectively the only way to do that. And prefab is, I think, one of the best ways to get there.
So in a typical stick frame building, how we've been building for 150 years, each individual stick has to be handled. Each individual stick has its own warp and twist, and it could be cut at a different length. A single wall, a pretty simple wall, ends up being thousands of pieces.
When we say mass timber, we mean using wood to make large structural elements. So we take the 2x6s and we put them down side by side, and then we put another layer the other direction, cross-laminated timber.
And then they run into gigantic CNC machines that will take the 3D models that we've created and then cut out the pieces out of those big panels. And then ultimately lift it up into place and fasten together that will then be stacked up into a building.
Breaking away from status quo is hard. Design fundamentally is we're taking an existing condition and trying to move towards a preferred one. We're developing a prototype with green canopy node for townhomes. We're essentially 3D printing with wood. We're not down there measuring, where the walls go. It's slotted in. We know exactly where it goes.
One of our bigger goals is carbon negativity. Houses, they last a long time. So it's a big opportunity for us to store carbon. And so when you think about a CLT panel, you don't think about it as just wood. You think about it like a carbon battery. That wood is now in place for 60, 100 years.
There's a lot of unknowns. I think we've experienced that this week a lot. We're all new to this. It's about failing fast and failing in a way that allows us to take a step forward each time.
I'm an optimist. I try to be a realist, but I'm really an optimist and a dreamer. And I think that we will crack the code, and we will be able to have people housed affordably and humanely and with dignity.
We all really share the same values. It's not your elite, it's not your Ivy League background, it's people with this just real experience, and they are here because they want to make housing affordable. It's a sustainable product, and it's affordable, and it's for everyone.